Hello everyone, it is I, Ryan, also known as thelovebat. And so, I am back once again to get things started with another draft in the Baldur's Gate format of Magic the Gathering Arena. So, here to bring another draft video, and then I'm hoping that over the weekend I'll get to doing some of the constructed decks before standard shifts in and out with the rotating decks and formats there to make some of the decks no longer a part of standard. So, but today I'm going to just do another draft video here since I got enough gold coins up here to bring another one to the table, and we're just going to do a usual Premier Draft best of one here. And last time the best of three draft that I did didn't go so well, and I lost the game due to the timer that ran down all the way. And one of the few things that I don't really like about the best of three matches. So I'm just going to go with a Premier Draft. You have a bit more margin of error here as far as getting the good rewards and the self-sustaining rewards as far as gems go, and it doesn't take anywhere near as long for the draft table here to fill up with willing players. So let's shouldn't take too long to go through here with the Premier Draft compared to the best of three draft, which from the Dragon deck I think it took like, what was it, like well over 20 minutes. Can't remember how long exactly it took, but felt like it takes forever to get a best of three drafts going for all of the players. So let's dive in here and see how this deck does. Alright, and so we open up a pretty sweet rare here. I'm just going to go and select this. So we opened this in another pack. I think it was when we were doing the first best of three draft, where we opened this, and we also had Liara of the Flaming Fist in the same pack. But yeah, this is a very good card. You can get lots of treasures off of it. It can go good in red-black, red-white, any kind of dragon deck for ramping into other dragons or playing a bunch of spells out on your next turn. Very good card as a curve topper, and can even be good in an aggro deck if you have like a the 2-mana Reckless Barbarian that can ramp into this on maybe turn 4 if you're lucky, and different other ways to ramp. Battlecry Goblin is awesome. We saw how good it was in the aggro decks that I've had for the first couple of drafts. Memphis Enthusiasm is a great card as well, great removal. Krydle is a pretty good rogue card, can make something strong unblockable and good in general. Lots of general decks. Shambling Gas, great low mana creature in any black deck. And then Minimus Containment with some pretty decent removal, as well as the Fireball, which we could hope wheels. Let's see here. So we have a gate. Red-green does tend to be the dragon type deck, and gates are kind of like a free card in the deck if we want to go the green-red splashing other colors route with the mana fixing that green has. Not usually something you want to pick this highly, but in red-green for the dragon deck it's great. Blessed Hippogriff would be good in red-white aggro, and then maybe have the Ancient Copper Dragon as sort of the curve topper there, which can also help to maybe splash some other high mana creatures. This would be good in red-black. And there's lots of treasure token generation with this, and make it easy to sacrifice something to Deadly Disputes, and maybe if we wield the Shambling Gas. But I'm going to take the Kobold Warcaller. It sticks with red, and if we can get this out on turn 4 or 5 with some ramp elements with haste, then that's very, very good to fly over the top of a big 6/5 creature and get lots of treasures to really outpace the opponent. Fiend Lash is interesting. We did end up winning a match or two, I think, with this, due to the damage triggering and doing its thing. It is a bit awkward to play it out and then have to equip it, because you have to have 5 mana to do it on the same turn, and if you play this out in turn 2, then you have to spend the rest of your mana on turn 3 to equip it to, say, a 1-drop, which for a Kobold Warcaller isn't too great. Could be okay on a Shambling Gas to trade it off and then deal damage. I think I'm just going to go with the Sewer Plague here. The Orb of Dragon Kind would be great for the dragon deck. And this is definitely worth getting for a dragon deck, but I don't know if I'm going to be a dragon deck, whereas Sword Plague makes you much more open, and this can probably still wheel if no one else is in a dragon deck. So we'll see how this goes and see if we can go into red-black. Well, I'm getting punished for not taking the orb because the Undersolar Myconid is really great. We could even go ahead and maybe splash some black or go 3-color here with a sort of sacrifice graveyard kind of fodder deck. This is very great for ramp, and you can ramp into the dragons, such as this one. And then there's many other dragons in the set that are worth ramping into. So many of them are 5, 6, or 7 mana dragon cards. And there's lots of other strong things to ramp or fix for, and it helps you to splash. It makes chump blockers, makes sacrifice fodder easier to get. And then we have Mazzy here, which is the rare. This is more of a constructed card, I think, because you need auras, and there aren't too many auras that exist in this set. So it's more of a constructed card if you get lots of aura-type cards going. Alright, so we have a bit of a decision to make. Black does seem open here with Guildsworn Prowler and Grim Bounty wheeling around to us here. I mean, it's not like a full wheel, but several picks in. It's a good sign for black, and green has some good cards too if we still want to go green, red, splashing black, and other colors, maybe for really powerful cards. But I think if we just take Grim Bounty, this allows us to splash along with the Ancient Copper Dragon getting out lots of treasures, and this gets out a treasure. Guildsworn Prowler is great for our deck, but we can probably find some more type sacrifice fodder creatures, and we need like a Deadly Dispute or a Sepulchre Ghoul to get the most out of that card, and there is a Deadly Dispute that we could wheel if we're lucky. Manticore could be okay. Cobalt Warcaller could do chump block and then tap to give something haste, then you play out the Manticore if you're kind of fortunate with the timing. Split the Spoils, not exactly what I'm looking for. We do have some strong cards, or could have some strong cards like the Ancient Copper Dragon to give them a choice on. This is like a Mind Rot effect, which is decent but not great. I'm just going to go for the Ettercap here in case I end up in green. I could also, well, actually I'm going to go with the Lantern of Revealing because it can ramp and fix, so maybe that's just a better fit for our deck. Even if we're in green, the Ettercap, while it's good, it's more of a sideboard card, so I'm just going to keep my options open, and indeed I do. We're going to go for the Pilgrim's Eye here. Blue, as usual, kind of wheels around and seems open a lot of the time. I haven't really seen any blue cards that were strong enough to feel like pivoting into blue into a dragon-type deck. The Orb of Dragonkind was in green that we encountered earlier, and this can fix for all of our mana. We can sacrifice it to Deadly Dispute or a Baba the Saga if we get it in the next pack, if we're lucky. Or in a future pack, essentially. Not too much for us here. I guess we can take an Ettercap now, in case we end up going in a sort of green route. I don't think I'm going to take this in a best of 1 format. If it was best of 3, I might take it for a sideboard card in case there's an opponent that likes to play lots of big stuff and hold them in their hand. I guess I'll just take the Ettercap in case we go into green. Oh wow, the Shambling Ghast wheeled around. Okay. Well, that's a very good sign for us that red-black is probably a good path. We could even go 3-color if we have enough fixing here. So let's just go with the Shambling Ghast. It's going to be a great 1-drop that can do lots of good things. Deadly Dispute is perfect for our deck. We have the Shambling Ghast. We have the Pilgrim's Eye. Lantern of Revealing could even be sacrificed if we don't need the ramp anymore. And then Kobold Warcaller could potentially be sacrificed if we need to for the card draw. So, great card. Great pickup here. Thieves' Tools, I guess, could be sacrificed to the Deadly Disputes, as well as generating a treasure. So this could be halfway decent. Armor of Shadows is a decent combat trick if we want to protect the Copper Dragon or a big creature. Guess we have a Demogorgon's Clutches now. And then Poison the Blade. I don't think we're going to play that. I'll go ahead and put this in the sideboard for now. We do open a Caddy Bree, which was a pretty decent card last time. We do have a Thieves' Tools that we could equip onto it for pretty cheap. but it would be very difficult to splash this. I mean, with treasures, you can potentially do it, but it is a 2-drop, and it's not sacrifice fodder for any of our red-black type synergies, so I'm probably just going to go for the Method's Enthusiasm. It's very good 4 damage type removal that can buff a creature that you play out next after it. Pilgrim's Eye would be awesome on the wheel. I'm not really confident that it will wheel. Scale Nurture would be great if we were in a dedicated dragon deck, but we only really have 1 dragon right now, and we're not really sure if we're going to be playing green. Black seemed more open, and red, we have some of our powerful cards in here. So we're just going to take the Enthusiasm and hope that something good wheels, like the Pilgrim's Eye. Alright, well, the black continues to flow here. We have a Sepulchre Ghoul, which is pretty good for our deck here. Shambling Gas is good to sacrifice. Pilgrim's Eye, good to sacrifice Myconid if we want to play that. Can also create a token to sacrifice. Safer pick would be Young Red Dragon, because we are maybe going to get more use out of the treasure token there. But this can be very, very good just because we have lots of several cards that we can already sacrifice to it. Can maybe get in a bit of an aggro plan as well early on. And if we end up with a Incessant Provocation, then Sepulchre Ghoul gets really, really good. So the Hippogriff, the Blessed Hippogriff, was another great card in there, but we're not going to be playing white at this point. I think we're squarely into red-black, maybe splashing some green. So there's lots of good blue cards here. Draconic Lore, again, good for the dragon deck, but we're not going to be in the dedicated dragon deck. Man, if we took that Orb of Dragonkind, the green one, we could have tried pivoting into a dragon deck and taking the Young Red Dragon in the last pack. Thyan Evokers is good, but again, it's blue, and one thing I failed to mention last time is that this kind of puts you into 2-color because you need to be red to be able to play the Lightning Bolts or have lots of treasure token generation, which usually means that you're in red. I'm going to go for the Vampire Spawn here. It's an all-around solid card, drains the opponent, gives you life, buys you time, is a good blocker, and you can potentially sacrifice it because you already get the value out there once you play it. And then Guildsworn Prowler, I think, is the pick here. Genocide Rabble-Rouser is pretty awesome, but you don't really want to sacrifice it because, one, you want to get the double team value. It's excellent with the Kobold Warcaller, which is one reason to take it. If you curve out into this with the Warcaller, then you are in really good shape, but the Guildsworn Prowler, I think, is just better for our deck. We already have the Sepulchre Ghoul and the Deadly Dispute to make use of it, and we can just trade it off with creatures as a very good blocker or attacker, so I quite like it. So now we have a decision to make. We can ramp into the Red Dragon here if we really want to, or we can take Incessant Provocation and take advantage of the fact that we have some ways to sacrifice the creature that we get out of it. I think I'm just going to take the high-end dragon here because I do have ways to get the double red and ways to ramp into it with Lantern of Revealing. Treasure token generation in some ways can help me get the mana too, so... And it's a nice big fat creature that we can give haste with the Kobold Warcaller. So, and we're more likely to wheel Incessant Provocations elsewhere because it's a common, so I'm just going to take the really good creatures since I don't have too much top end besides the dragons. Gave the Black Dragon as a free card for the deck, so I'll probably take that one. And then you seek a non-land card. We have plenty of things that we'd want to get in this deck. Like if we seek one of these dragons and get fortunate, then that would be great. Fireball is some high-end removal here, and it can help pump in the extra damage that you need. With this and the Red Dragon, you can potentially get in for lots of damage, but I think the Red Dragon is just the pick there. Now I'm going to take the Rabble-Rouser because it's still really good with the Warcaller and with Double Team. It does mean that you potentially have an extra creature to sacrifice to other types of effects, so I will take that and be happy about it. And let's see, Earth Cult Elemental's not so great. It's not bad in our deck because we do have creatures that we can sacrifice, but As a curve topper, it's not so good, and then some matchups it's pretty poor. So I think I'm just going to take the Horde Robber and see if I can get the treasure token generation with the Thieves tools that can help me out a little bit. I guess Chain Devil's not half bad in our deck. The blue is obviously coming around because blue is almost always open. So unless you have one or two really strong rares to build around in blue, it's not usually worth trying to go into. I think the Dueling Rapier is not bad here. We have some flying creatures that we can get in over the top with and do some extra damage with. And it's a general combat trick for, say, the Shambling Ghast or the Sepulchre Ghoul. So, could make use of it. And wow, we get a Valor Singer? Yes, please. This is pretty good for aggro. We do have a fairly low curve outside of our two dragons. I think we're going to use the Armor of Shadows a bit more than the Dueling Rapier. So... And Baleful Beholder's not too bad for a curve topper either, and we have ways to possibly ramp into it. So the Beholder is more of a sideboard card for the enchantment aspect, but getting Menace and maybe having haste on the Beholder with the War Collar could be something to push in lethal damage. Alright, so we have some good green cards for ramp, but we are not looking like we're main deck green here. We might splash one Myconid because it creates Sacrifice Slaughter, so that's not too bad. And we have the Pilgrim's Eye that can potentially get the green mana for us as well, so we might do one of those. See, we have the Sword Coast Serpent. I'm going to take the Sewer Plague here because it's the main card in here for us. It's good removal, instant speed. And then there were some good dragon-type cards in there as well, which would have been pretty good for a dragon-type deck, like the Sword Coast Serpent and different things. Navigation Orb, what does this do? Two basic land cards. Alright, so it's not exactly what we want for our deck. We have to either choose the Orb of Dragonkind or the Rabble Rouser. I think it's just the Rabble Rouser here, because we already have the Kobold War Collar that can give haste. This being able to fix as well as ramp is very good, but we're looking like an aggro deck with some curve topping big creatures that we can have treasure tokens for. So I'll just go with the Rabble Rouser and be pretty happy about it, since I already have one Kobold War Collar to curve out with. Let's see, we have some Improvised Weaponry is a good removal, and they can make treasures and do the whole ramping thing. So I'll probably take that because we have a couple of nice dragons to ramp into and make treasures for the Deadly Disputes. There's Owlbear and Hill Giant Herdgorger, which are both very good in green. This is a good dragon to ramp into that also is colorless, which makes it easy to cast, but I think the Improvised Weaponry gives you somewhat 2-for-1 value. Young Blue Dragon is another good card there in the dragon type deck. So now we have a decision to make. We have Guildsworn Prowler, Shambling Ghast, and Battlecry Goblin. Now Battlecry Goblin can make tokens that we can potentially sacrifice to other creatures like the Sepulchre, or to the Sepulchre Ghoul, and then to the Deadly Disputes. So we can make tokens, and it's just a very good card in general. Shambling Ghast or Guildsworn Prowler might just be better for the deck, though. I'm going to take the Shambling Ghast. I don't know if it's the right pickup here, but another 1-drop, you can't really go wrong with it. It helps us to curve out better. And we get an Incessant Provocation to take advantage of the Steal and Sack type effects, so could be the thing that we need to kind of give our deck a little bit of oomph, because we have a couple of strong cards, but we need ways to ramp into them, so we have to get kind of lucky with the treasure token generation right now. Oh, another Sepulchre Ghoul. Excellent. We already have 2 Rabble Rousers, so I think that's enough, and we don't have like Liara of the Flaming Fist to get advantage off a double team, so I will take the Sepulchre Ghoul and be happy about it. I could splash Krydle reasonably. You don't have to play it turn 2 if you don't want to. But Sepulchre Ghoul is great for our deck, so I'll take that one. Another War Collar is actually quite welcome. Hook Horror may be better for synergy. Incessant Provocation also may be better for synergy, but being able to give haste to something like, say, a Horde Robber and then get Treasure Token on turn 2, that could actually be surprisingly strong. And then you can give one of your big creatures haste to attack on the turn that you play it. So I think that the Kobold Warcaller is great in most any deck, and wow, this is going to be awesome. So we have Deadly Dispute number 2. Yes, please. I will take that happily. I don't know if we might end up with a different hook horror. I don't know if we can wheel any at this point. Maybe the second to last pick or something like that. Maybe we'll get a hook horror or something like that. But I guess another vampire spawn. We probably won't play 2 of them, but I can consider it. Just take the black card here. I'll just take the uncommon for the vault. I don't think I'm playing the Shardolin Dragon at this point. Guiltsworn Prowler, that is awesome. So I'm definitely in the right colors here. Guess I'll just take an uncommon for the vault here. And there we go. So we have a pretty cool red-black deck. It's not the same sort of aggro deck that I drafted in my very first draft. This is more of a sacrifice aggro type deck where we have more than just pure aggro. Well, I didn't mean to click that. I meant to go ahead and go into the deck building here. Let's go. Let's go! Hype up! Okay. So, do I want to splash the mic in it? It does make good, creature token fodder. And I have a Pilgrim's Eye, Lantern of Revealing, Treasure Generation. I have a reasonable amount of treasure generation. This can make a treasure. So how many ways do we have to make treasure? I'll take out the Armor of Shadows. I don't think I'll need them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 potentially. And then 7, 8. So 8, and then I guess technically 9, but more on the likelihood of 8 reliable ways of generating treasure tokens. And then 1, 2 ways to fix for it, I believe. Yeah, I think that's probably enough. We'll go ahead and have 1 forest for the Pilgrim's Eye to pick up if we want it. And then we'll play 1 extra mountain. And so we'll have 8 black sources, 8 red sources, 1 green, and then ways to go and splash for the Myconid because it is good in our deck. Makes a token, or it makes a creature that you can sacrifice easily to any of these effects. Then it's a good chump blocker. It helps you to ramp into the dragon type cards. Baleful Beholder is not quite enough for us. These fly over the top and we can give them haste to attack in the turn we play them. And they can just really help either pump in a lot of extra damage, or you can get lots of treasures, and then you can really just be playing out everything that you want. And the extra treasures can help the Gate of the Black Dragon seek a non-land card. So the extra treasures could be useful. We'll take out 1 Chain Devil. We don't probably want to play 2, if any. I guess we have some tough choices to make here. Dueling Rapier, maybe not good enough here. I could sacrifice it to the Deadly Disputes, which is a consideration. But for now, I'm just going to take it out, and then maybe Thieves' Tools isn't really what we want either. Maybe just getting haste is better with the Warcallers and not really relying on the Thieves' Tools. Because it's really only good with the Horde Robber. Because what else would we want to make unblockable? Yeah, so it'd have to be power 3 or less. So Horde Robber is the only one. I guess we could attack in with Sepulchre Ghoul, then sacrifice something to make it bigger and pump in more damage, but you can only do that once per turn, so it's like a 4/4 getting in there. Not really worth it. I mean, it makes treasures. You can sacrifice it to the Deadly Dispute. But maybe it's just awkward enough to where I just don't want to play it. I just have better things to do and better things to sacrifice. So Demogorgon's Clutches, I don't think that we're going to need. We have enough removal in this deck to be able to deal with whatever the opponent might have in hand, I think. So as far as removal, we have the Enthusiasm, we have 2 Sewer Plagues, Improvised Weaponry, Grim Bounty, that sounds pretty good to me. Then we have Provocation plus the Steal and Sack type of synergy, so that's another one. And then maybe potentially Chain Devil if we want to keep one of these, since we do have lots of low curve creatures that we would want to sacrifice to it. Maybe even Horde Robber is pretty good sack fodder. Once you get in and get a treasure or two, then you can sacrifice it later when you don't need it. We have several other cuts to make. I want to keep the 2 dragons as curve toppers, and they do well with the war colors with haste. Maybe the Horde Robber plan just isn't good enough here. We have other things to sacrifice. One less vampire spawn, maybe. And then maybe the Valor Singer isn't quite what we want here. I mean, we are kind of aggro, but not entirely aggro. And we don't have too many lower mana flying creatures to kind of give the +1/+0 to. Like if we had like a red-white deck with the Blessed Hippogriff, then giving that +1/+0 or another creature that gets flying +1/+0 would be much better. Yeah, maybe the Valor Singer is just not the fit for our deck. It makes the curve a bit more awkward with less 3-drop creatures, but 1 vampire spawn is enough to go and buy time and drain them. This is getting kind of tough here to try and make these cuts. Maybe we do cut the Myconid and we just make sure that we don't have to worry about the splash. I mean, it's great for our deck, but we have to make some cuts, and it's getting kind of hard to decide on the cuts. Maybe the Lantern of Revealing, because we have enough treasure generation that Myconid, we can still easily splash it. It does ramp, but we have treasures to be able to ramp as well. Yeah, maybe it's just not good enough here. If we had like if this was like the Prophetic Prism, then we could keep it for the splashing because we can play it turn 2. And then turn 3, we can actually use the Prism to splash the Myconid out there. But this is like a turn 3 play, so you can't do it, and then you have to wait till turn 4 for this if you have them in your opening hand, so. What's the final cut here? I mean, Chain Devil is probably the easiest cut, because even though I have lots of very good sacrifice fodder, it is bad in some matchups. Like if your opponent has their own like Guildsworn Prowlers and Hook Horrors and things like that, then Chain Devil is very bad. It's just a really bad card. So it's maybe more of a sideboard card in this kind of deck, because matchup wise there are some very bad matchups for it. Then maybe we can just rely more on the Incessant Provocation to get us there with the sacrifice type effects instead of the Chain Devil. Yeah, it is a 4-drop, and Kobold Warcaller maybe works better with other creatures than the Chain Devil, because the Chain Devil, with only 2 toughness, isn't going to survive against much if we attack with it on turn 4. So maybe we can just cut this and just use these 2 sacrifice effects as ways to deal with stuff. I guess technically you can do Chain Devil with Incessant Provocation, but it does require 8 mana to do that. You do Incessant Provocation first, you attack in with the creature, then you play Chain Devil post-combat. Technically you could do it, but it's 8 mana compared to this, which is only 6 mana in total. And then this doesn't add any mana to it, it's just free. I'm okay to try and splash the Myconid here instead of doing the Chain Devil, because this gives you more sacrifice fodder, and that's maybe better for what we want to do. We could use some more bigger creatures, but the Baleful Beholder is the only other bigger creature that we could maybe play to make the War Color better. But we have a couple of Rabble Rousers, and then we can make these Sepulchre Ghouls big when we need them, and we have good removal. So maybe we just cut the Chain Devil and go with this. Valor Singer would be reasonable in our deck, and there is a case to be made for it. Also a case to be made for this. It's a good equipment, and then you can sacrifice it to Deadly Disputes when you need the card draw, but yep, I think this is how we're going to do it. And then I'll go ahead and rename the deck to the good old red, black sack. Alright, so we're going to go with this, and I will go ahead and see you guys for game 1. Alright, here we are. First match. The Unknown. Feeling Unknown. That's an interesting name. This is a good keep. We get the War Caller turn 1 into the Rabble Rouser turn 2. Then it would be ideal to go ahead and pump the Rabble Rouser with the Memphis Enthusiasm, but that depends on what the opponent plays out. So then we have Deadly Disputes and the Grim Bounty for later on here. So let's do the War Caller turn 1, and then they're blue already, so maybe it's a dragon deck, maybe it's blue-white blank deck, maybe it's just a general control deck with some strong rares. They might have Undersimplify mana out there, so I might just want to pass the turn here, because the Rabble Rouser is a good counterspell target. Let's just attack in with the War Caller here and pass the turn. Okay. So at least they don't have the Undersimplify mana up right now, so that's good. So now I can go ahead and, I mean, I could have given a creature haste there to make the future turns maybe a bit better for the curve out, but I'm only going to be able to play one creature here, so I guess the question is, do we play the Enthusiasm now and then pump up the Rabble Rouser next turn? I think so. We prevent them from getting more ramp. So let's go ahead and do the War Caller haste on the Rabble Rouser. And then we'll do Memphis Enthusiasm here, kill their ramp and fixing, and then we can pump up the Rabble Rouser next turn with the double team aspect. Alright, so Vampire Spawn is not enough to block the Rabble Rouser here, so that's good. Let's see, we'll play another Swamp in case they have some kind of removal options. Maybe the following turn, since they're blue-black, they could have some black removal. I think we just play the Rabble Rouser here, since it has haste. And it'll get past the Vampire Spawn here with the buff. And we give it the good old double team. And then we'll go ahead and give the Guildsworn Prowler haste. We could give the Rabble Rouser haste as well. Yeah, maybe that's a safer play, so that way they think that maybe we don't have like another creature in hand here. Okay, so we can Deadly Dispute in response to that. So at the very least they can waste 5 mana, and we can prevent them from getting the treasure token. Based on what we showed them so far, they may not think that we have these sacrifice type effects just yet. They could think that maybe we were Steel and Sack, or not a Steel and Sack deck, but maybe just red-black aggro, which is what my first draft deck was in this format, so... Alrighty then, so what do we do? What do we do? Well, I think that we play out the red mana here, and then we could just Grim Bounty the vampire spawn, and then attack in with the Rabble Rouser, so that way even if they chump block with the Ghast, then they can't kill the Rabble Rouser. I could also just attack in with a Guildsworn Prowler and 2. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. I think we can play this and then leave up Deadly Dispute. We'll attack in with this, and we could force them to trade here instead of the Spiked Pit Trap. Yeah, let's see if they want to go for that. I think we got enough value off of our War Color that we're okay with this. They can double block and kill the Rabble Rouser, then go for the one of the 1/1s, and I can Deadly Dispute in response if I want to. I'll probably go for the War Color here, yeah. So I think it's worth it to Deadly Dispute in response, and just do it now while we have the mana going here. And we still get in for the 3 damage here, so... Alright, that's quite nice. So what shall we do? I think we just play out another War Color here, and if they want to use the Spiked Pit Trap on it, then I'm fine. We keep the treasure token available for the Undercell or Myconid if we draw into it. Plus it also just gives us extra mana for our next turn. Okay. So... does this add that already has haste? Sepulchral Ghoul could also get haste, and we can attack in with it too, which is actually quite nice. Yeah, if I give the Sepulchral Ghoul haste, I guess it's a matter of do I want to give the Rabble Rouser haste and then activate the double team with the threatening the pump effect there. I can double pump it with a treasure token, but I guess that may not be enough. I could still pump this Rabble Rouser and then trade for the young blue dragon as well. Let's go ahead and get the red out here. Maybe we just do the Grim Bounty on the blue dragon and then get in there for some good damage. So let's go ahead and do, I guess the Rabble Rouser that they already know about. Oh, never mind. I am a dummy. This already had haste. I'm going to play it out anyway, even though I just made a very bad mistake there. And then we'll go ahead and do the Grim Bounty because it's sorcery speed, and we'll take care of the dragon. And then we shall attack in. And then... I think that'll be the end of the turn, maybe? I mean, I guess I could play one of these. Then maybe sack in response to these Pit Trap to prevent the treasure token. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. I might as well do it now. You can also sack in response to the vampire spawn attacking as well. If they use all their mana here and then they don't use the Spiked Pit Trap, then I can still block with the ghoul. But if they try and target something with the Spiked Pit Trap, then I'll just sack in response and prevent them from getting the potentially getting the treasure token off of it from the roll here. And if they use it on the Sepulchre Ghoul, then that's fine too. I think it's a worthy trade-off, considering that the Rabble-Rousers are the bigger threat from the pump effect. Yeah, it's either between the Rabble-Rouser or the Sepulchre Ghoul, which they want to take out more. I'm in red-black, so they might think I have Steal and Sack effects, and they want to just take out the Sepulchre Ghoul, which is fine. I can only pump it once, so I can't outdo the Spiked Pit trap damage there. Armor of Shadows may have been able to save it if I had open mana for that, and I had that in hand, but we'll do this because more red mana is good for the pumping of the Rabble-Rousers. This time I'm going to correctly put the haste on this one, play it out, and then for 1 mana, I don't think that there's anything that they really have to deal with this, so we're going to attack with everything, and they're going to probably chump block here. Oh, they're not. Okay. And we shall pump twice, and that is nearly it. So the only out that I believe that they have is the 7 mana black, double black board sweeper effect. So I guess they didn't have one, and at 1 life they needed a sweeper and they didn't have one, so I will take it for game 1. And I'm up to the silver tier 4, which is, I mean, considering that I don't play the draft formats every single day to rank up and do things like that, you know, I'm just kind of playing for fun mostly. Interesting. Might take a look at that sometime later. But yeah, first game went pretty well. Blue-black, not exactly common, at least in this set. I know that the zombie deck from several sets ago, blue-black zombies, was pretty common in one set. And then there's blue-black ninjas in the Kamigawa set. But anyway, I'll just go ahead and skip on to the next game here. And we'll probably see something other than blue-black for our next opponent. And I'll see you guys for game 2. Alright, well that didn't take very long, and we are into game 2 already. With an unkeepable hand, unfortunately, we have no green for them, no Pilgrim's Eye. If we had Pilgrim's Eye, this hand might be keepable, but 2 red, and only 2 red spells, and them going first, this would be way too slow and risky, so... This, on the other hand, is a keep. All black stuff, so I guess I want to keep the Sewer Plague because that's going to be great. Shambling Gas, I mean, Guildsworn Prowler is great. Maybe we just ditch the land and hope we draw. We're on the draw, so we can ditch a land and then hopefully draw one in the 3 draw steps that we have. And then if not, we can still play out our creatures. Alright, that's perfect. We can still curve out, play a creature, then maybe turn 3 instant speed removal to take out something big that they play. I'm not going to use the Sewer Plague on the Nurture, even though it would be wise to, but I think I'm just going to keep going with Prowler or Ghoul. I think the Prowler, because we can attack in with it, and if they block it, we draw a card. And then this can kill the Nurture if they block. Never mind, I guess I can't kill the Nurture, I forgot, because it's 0-2. I need to do a better job of reading the cards. No wonder they blocked right away without thinking about it. I mean, it's not like they're going to attack anyway, so I guess it's kind of irrelevant, but the Guildsworn Prowler, on the other hand, can still attack into them, so... Druidic Ritual, 2 creature. Okay, so they milled and they got lucky and got a very good card out of it, but thankfully I have Sewer Plague to deal with that, so I'm glad that I didn't want to use it on the Nurture anyway. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go ahead and play this, act like I don't have anything else aside from that. We're going to attack in. See how they block. Play the Sepulchre Ghoul. And then we're going to go ahead and sack Shambling Ghast and kill off their Nurturer. So you do the Ghoul post-combat so that way they block with it, basically. Yeah, because if you play the Ghoul post-combat, then they're going to feel like, alright, I'll just block here and that'll be that. So Pilgrim's Eye is not a bad draw. I guess I might as well give it haste. I mean, nothing wrong with that. Then I'll play this out. Next turn we can Sewer Plague on whatever they play. Yep, I might as well do this. Grab our green mana for the Myconid. Then we'll get in here. I'll save the Pilgrim's Eye for Deadly Disputes instead of the Sepulchre Ghoul. Guildsworn Prowler can at least attack in and trade, so... Alright, that was a very unwise move on their part, mainly due to the fact that by playing the adventure side, now they lose out on it and it goes to the graveyard now. So maybe not such a wise move. I mean, they probably are green-black with more Summon Undeads to try and get it back from the graveyard, but they lose it from being able to play it immediately, so maybe it wasn't so wise on their part. Then I think what we... can I not play this? Like, this is instant speed? What is this, hexproof? Alright, so it's hexproof, okay. Alright, so I think I'm going to do attack in with the Prowler here. I could attack in with the Warcaller too, and then it loses the hexproof. Could also attack in with everything, but I think I'll just attack in with these two things and make it lose the hexproof if it blocks. There we go, and then I will save the Sewer Plagues until it's their turn. They'll have open mana, but I can block with the Sepulchre Ghoul, sack the Guildsworn Prowler, and then use Sewer Plague as well. So I imagine that they're going to attack in here. Sepulchre Ghoul can sack to become a 4/4. But they're not going to. Which means I'll just go ahead and do this, and I can pay the Undersimplify mana if they have it. So it's going to become like a nothing creature. Another Sewer Plague. We do have another Sewer Plague. We're not going to use it. And then I think we just attack in with both of these. I mean, I'm okay with this. We draw the card, and that's what we kind of need a bit more. We need to draw some action, so... Sepulchre Ghoul stays alive, basically. They have no mana for the Manticore to try and kill the Ghoul. And if they want to block this way, then that's fine too. I can just do the good old sacrifice the Guildsworn Prowler here and save the Ghoul. Save the Ghoul, get the red dragon, and then we are cooking with heat now because I play this out. They are going to have a rough time next turn with all this damage we're going to be pumping in. They could have another way to deal with a flying creature, like choose your weapon. Another Eder cap could do it as well. There's also the, what is it, line up the shot, which can summon a plummet to their hand, and then they can cast plummet on the red dragon, but... So, I mean, we're in a position where we could just do the Sewer Plague now, because then it'll get even more debuffed by the time it's their next turn, and then I can chump block with the Ghoul or Deadly Dispute it in response to it dying inevitably. Yep, I mean, the Hill Giant's a big enough creature to where I'm okay doing this now. And then we shall do this and attack in. I'll hold up the Deadly Dispute in case they have some removal here. Saravok is interesting. Yeah, so Saravok's a very strong card, but the Hill Giant's going to be dead soon, so... Pass the blockers, chump block, and then we're going to Deadly Dispute it. So Saravok's very good for their deck, but we could end up drawing removal for it. We could just end up flying over the top of our dragon to win. Okay, but we still draw the 2 cards at least, so... Copper Dragon it is, so they already used their band together. Copper Dragon is going to really wreck them here, so let's play this out. I mean, I think we just have to go for it here. They are at 9 life. We have to just play out what we have. The Herd Gorger is basically nothing at this point. Another band together could kill the Copper Dragon because they have 5 power with their 2 creatures, but by next turn the Herd Gorger is going to be toast. So I don't block with the Copper Dragon here because they could have a Manticore to try and kill it after combat. Grim Hireling's that's a really strong card. So we probably don't want them to create the treasures here, so I think I'm just going to block and do this. Because I don't want them to make the treasures, because then they would be making 2 treasures, and then they can potentially use them to kill my win condition here. So... Okay, so they're going to try and outrace me, but... Probably not going to be able to do that. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature you control this. So how many creatures do they have in their graveyard here? So they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So they can make that a 12 power creature, which is not enough here. So I'm just going to go ahead and kill this now before it becomes a problem. And force them to have an answer for the dragon next turn if they want to win. So I have all the treasure in the world to play whatever I want next turn. I don't really have any ways to take advantage of the treasures, unfortunately, so... Yeah, 13 damage, not going to be enough. They need removal to win here, basically. And they have it. Alright, so what do we draw here? Warcolor. Well, they don't have Trample. So I guess I'll play this, chump block, and see if I can draw something next turn for the win. Alright, so they get the win there. They had what they needed at the right moment. They top-decked the line up the shot to kill my dragons, so... Not much I could have done about that. If they draw the removal, they win. If they don't, we win. That's kind of how it goes, so... I mean, I feel like our deck was stronger, but, you know, that's just, again, the way it goes sometimes. we had a lot of removal, but you know, we just ended up not having a way to play out with all those treasures and such. So drawing a Deadly Dispute could have helped us there as well, just to draw more cards. All right, so we're gonna go to game 3 here, and I will see you then for the game number 3. All right, and here we are for game number 3 with San, my opponent. They're going to need a bit of suntan lotion. Very bad wordplay, dad jokes with some of the aggressive kinds of things here. We're going to go ahead and keep this because improvised weaponry gets the treasure for the Myconid, so this seems like a pretty decent play here. Plus, by giving the Myconid haste, we can get the ramp out on the turn that we cast it, so that's interesting if we get another 1-drop like that one, but I think what we do is we just go ahead and give the Ghast haste. And we play it out. That way, if they wanted to use removal, they would have to do it on the Ghast, where I get the treasure token value at least. I guess there's not any 1-mana white removal that they could have used. The Humiliation only does damage if you have a creature on the field, so I guess wasn't really relevant. White-blue, probably the Flicker deck, with some random early creatures in there, I imagine. I think the choice here is pretty easy. We just weaponry the Paladin. Get the treasure, and then give haste to the Myconid, so that way we can go ahead and do its ramp the turn that we get it out, so we can play a 2-drop next turn maybe. So if we draw like a Sepulchre Ghoul or something else like that, we can give it haste, and then... Oh, that's interesting too. Very interesting. Lulu isn't going to be able to block that, so let's go and play this with the token that we have. Auto pay. We have a chump blocker on the ground, and then we're going to go ahead and give haste to the dragon, I guess. If we attack with the Ghast, well, I guess it doesn't matter because we have the Myconid though, so we're not going to attack with the Ghast just yet. The treasure isn't really needed because we have the 6 mana next turn with the Myconid. We might kill the Myconid with removal here if they want to get rid of it, but... Alright, so that's going to be a problem, but since we have the Copper Dragon coming out, I think we'll be okay. Patriarch's Humiliation wouldn't be able to kill it in 1 turn. Or at least it wouldn't be able to kill it because of the fact that they need 5 creatures out to be able to kill it with that spell. They don't have enough damage to pump out. Yeah, so they'd be able to pump 4 damage into the dragon, so... I think what we do is we just go ahead and play it. Then we will attack in. I think this is what we do. We're going to get plenty of treasures that they don't block here. Thank you. Yeah, this is why the high-end creatures are still good in a Kobold Warcaller deck. You can attack right when you get them out. So if an opponent is mostly tapped out, then they're not going to be able to play removal on the turn that you cast this, so you can at least get some value for them right away. They could have like some enchantment-based removal here to deal with it. Yeah, Minimus Containment, that's one way. They were probably holding that up for a nice big fat juicy creature, so more power to them. Well, shucks. We really need to draw some action here. We really need it. We could consider going down to 16 lands because we have so much treasures. Or we could play less lands, essentially. Because, yeah, I don't really like having to deal with flooding out here. I mean, I think we just attack in with everything. And then I don't think that we sandbag any lands because the Genocide Rabble Rouser gets better if you can pump it more times, so... And since we can give it haste, that means that we want to have as much mana out as we can to do that. Okay, so they're going to do that in the War Caller, and I'm okay with that. We do have some fat creatures we can still get out, so... I don't like that they're drawing cards here, but we do have removal that could deal with it. Or another big fat creature that they play, maybe. I mean, they've got to have something in hand here. Oh, at least we can seek a non-land card next turn with that. Let's hold back the Shambling Gas so that way they can't just keep getting in there. At the very least, we can hold back one of the spies if we have the gas back there. Alright, we'll scratch that plan. They're just gonna fly in over the top and draw as many cards as they want here. And deal damage to us, and we have nothing that we can do because we're flooding out. They have all the cards in the world, all the mana in the world, 2 flyers. And we're just drawing lands like the Dickens here, so not feeling good about this game, so we need a lot of help here. The Red Dragon would help us stabilize. It would provide a blocker for the Soul Knife Spies. What is up with this? We have... Yeah, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 9 lands already with still more than half of our deck to go, and we're flooding out here. For the love of God, please give me something to work with here. For the love of God, give me something to work with. A 1/1 War Caller? Come on. Oh, come on. I needed that earlier. Okay, well, we might as well play it here. We're not going to win, but you know what? That's the breaks. Them's the breaks. Might as well at least attack in with the gas here. And then I have to hope that I draw something. Even a Red Dragon won't save us at this point. I don't know if there's anything that we can do to save ourselves here. We really needed something different than a War Caller right there. Deadly Dispute could have saved us there. We can draw more cards that way. Deadly Dispute might be able to save us here as well. Because we need to draw 2 removal spells, I think, to win. If we draw Mephith's Enthusiasm with Deadly Disputes, and then maybe what else? Laura might make it unwinnable here. Yep. Well, GG's. We lose our next game here, so we're going to go down to 1 and 2, and that's that. So I have to adjust the mana base here because I'm flooding out way too much. Way too much. If I had seeked anything other than a Kobold War Caller, like even a 2-drop Sepulchre Ghoul, could have done something there, but Yeah, let's go back to the mana base here and see if we need to cut down on the land count here. So that's 15, 16, 17, and we have lots of treasure generation and card draw. Could just cut the mic in it at this point. Maybe we don't need it. Maybe we just don't need the Myconid. Or maybe we can just cut a Warcaller. Maybe I don't need two of them, and let's cut a Warcaller, and then maybe the Valor Singer would give us a bit more, at least aggro plan there. Maybe the Beholder can be okay. Just because we just need more win conditions. A nice big fat creature can do that. We'll do that. We'll put in the Beholder. We still have one Warcaller for the curving out with haste. And we have more creatures that we can draw with Black Dragon, the Gate of the Black Dragon here, that are going to be nice and big for us. So maybe we can keep the mana base the same if we just have the more big creatures to play out. Yep, we have double black, so I think we just keep the mana base the same and hope we just draw a little bit better next time. Alright, well, I'll go ahead and see everyone for Game 4, and hopefully it goes better than the previous matches. Alright, well, that didn't take long. Only waited for a couple seconds there, and then like no time, or in no time, there was our opponent. This hand's a bit slow, but we do have removal in here, and that's hopefully enough. We have both sources of mana here, at least the main sources, so it's a risky keep. We don't have much action going on early. Nothing to use the Warcaller on, but if we draw into something here, we're in good shape. Okay, so we just have removal to work with here, basically. Looks like they're going to try and do maybe some card draw type things here. So they could sacrifice the Barbarian in response to the Sword Plague to activate the Bag of Holding here. I think I just need to go ahead and wait here, because they'll just use the Reckless Barbarian in response and sacrifice it, so they could ramp into something anyway here by allowing it to live, so, but I have removal for whatever they might play with it. If they attack in, I can chump block and then Deadly Disputes in response. They might plan on attacking in and then ramping, so... Sucks to lose my only Warcaller, but it's kind of what I have to do to try and draw some action of some kind, so... Prevent the damage, and they might sacrifice it anyway, but... And I'm really regretting the Warcaller sacrifice, but then again I draw 2 cards with it. It would have been a while before I drew the Rabble Rouser anyway, so maybe it was just the right thing to do there, so... Let's go ahead and I don't want to Grim Bounty the Barbarian because then they sack in response and I don't get the treasure token out of it. So maybe I just play my 2 creatures, then pass. Play these 2 out, then next turn I can have enough mana for 2 Sewer Plagues. If they use removal to get rid of the Rabble Rouser, then I can sack it in response to maybe prevent some secondary effect from activating from a removal spell. Like an improvised weapon, or not improvised weaponry, but basically anything with a secondary effect that I would want to make sure doesn't trigger. Barbarian could attack in here, but looks like they have removal of some kind. But they're not using it yet, I'm assuming. So I think we do this. Make sure that we don't auto-tap poorly here. And then we'll sack the treasure here and just make another one. So we still have 4 mana for the Grim Bounty if we want it. Method's Enthusiasm could be good too on one of the Sepulchre Ghouls. But maybe if they play out like a 1 toughness creature, this could be a bit better for that. Could play the Sewer Plague on the Paladin. Save the other removal spells for something better. I think that's what we do, because they'll probably attack in with the Paladin for the lifelink. If they have a way to save the Paladin, then I'm okay if they want to do that, but might as well attack in, so that way I activate Double Team at least. And if they have a combat trick to deal with this, then I force them to use it. If they have a combat trick, or if they had like removal to finish it off, then, you know, it is what it is. Because they could have blocked and then maybe sack the Barbarian to play some removal and then kill the Rabble Rouser entirely. So they're going to ramp into the Malfeshni. Okay. Or the Nalfeshni, I guess is how you pronounce it. Alright, so we're not going to be able to Sewer Plague. Or we couldn't Sewer Plague on their turn to make sure that it's more debuffed than it already was, but so it looks like they're probably going to have some adventure cards. Maybe like some Blessed Hippogriffs, different things like that. That I don't know if... yeah, that's technically not playing something from Exile, so that doesn't really count, but still a card advantage engine for them. Could play 2 things here. I think we just do Grim Bounty. Yeah, we do Grim Bounty on the Nalfeshni. Then I think what we can do is we can go ahead and play a Shambling Ghast. We'll pay a treasure token here for this. And then we'll attack in. Sack the Shambling Ghast and just get a treasure token. We just want to pump in some damage here, basically. I doubt they're going to be playing any 1 toughness creatures anytime soon, even though they are looking to be somewhat aggro here. I could have played out the other Rabble Rouser, but I want to have Sewer Plague up in response as instant speed removal if they play anything here. That's interesting. So I just want to keep up the Sewer Plague, because they're going to have to play something and put something on the board here at some point. They have 3 mana, so they have mana for something. If they don't play anything anytime soon, I'm just going to run them over, so... Which I guess I'm okay with too, if that's how they want to play. Let's attack in first and see what they do. They do nothing, so let's go ahead and play another rabble-rouser. Let's just play out all of our stuff, and then we can still do Sepulchre Ghoul sacrificing stuff if they have any like removal available. So if they don't have an answer, then they're in trouble. Even a Dragon's Breath doesn't really get them out of this, because then I can sack the Goldsworn Prowler and save one of the ghouls, so... I'll say the sacrifice effect for this turn, and then I can Mephit's Enthusiasm post-combat, maybe? Or Sewer Plague now, perhaps? Yeah, I can do Sewer Plague and the Ghoul thing and do pumping and stuff like that, so... I think what we do is we attack in with everything, and then we can do pumping effects with whatever they choose to block, so... Alright, perfect. So we do the Sewer Plague now. And then we go ahead and we pump this and sack the Prowler. Alright, nice. And then I'm going to go ahead and pump these instead, because we want to pump in as much damage as we can. Alright, so they are dead on board next turn, and we have removal to deal with anything that they play. Myconid is a nice little extra blocker type thing there, if they play out a creature with haste, maybe, at some point. And again, Dragon's Breath doesn't really save them here, because we can... the Rabble-Rousers survive, and the Sepulchre Ghouls can mostly survive, so... Yep, I guess they would have had to play either... Excuse me. I don't know. There is the card that gives them like 3 creature tokens, like 3/1/1 tokens. So that could have maybe buyed them some time there to maybe get some more lands out. But looks like they didn't have enough in their hand to deal with that. So pretty happy about that result. Alright, we're up to 2 wins. Let's hope that we can make it 3. We got kind of fortunate in that deck to, or that match to... Deadly Dispute, I guess in hindsight, the right call. Sack the War Caller there, and then just make sure that we get the card draw to draw into something better. That's a better play, so... And then drawing removal really helped us out too, so... Alright, well this is an awesome hand. We can sack the gas to get the treasure token for the Myconid, so that's pretty awesome. So, turn 1 gas, turn 2 ghoul, turn 3 Sewer Plague, whatever they play out, and then we can sack the gas at some point. Maybe we can sack the gas, turn 3, maybe for some kind of pump effect. Oh, we also have the Steal and Sack up and ready as well for this match, so... Don't know if it's going to be like a mirror match with red-black for them, or maybe it's red-white aggro. Or maybe it's going to be like red-blue dragons. Could be possible here with the Reckless Barbarian, which is a dragon, so... So it could be going up against the dragon deck, it could be red-white aggro, could be red-black aggro, sacrifice, whatever. Could be red-green aggro as well, with some just big creatures to ramp into. But I think that we are going to go ahead and we'll see if they want to trade here. You want to trade that for the Ghast? Alright, so it looks like they want to probably ramp into something then, so we're going to play this out now. Yeah, if they wanted to trade, that means that maybe they don't have something big in hand to ramp into, but since they didn't trade it, it probably means that they want to go ahead and play something here on turn 3 or turn 4, I'm assuming. They can play a 5-drop here on turn 3, that can be very strong for them. We do have Sewer Plague for it, but if I were them, I'd still try and do it anyway, and bank on me not having like removal for it. And the kind of cards that we've shown, they might be banking on us having like a Deadly Dispute instead, or not having enough mana for the Incessant Provocation yet, or something like that, so... At this point, they might also think that we could be a black-white deck, because there are some creatures that get buffed or into the battlefield effects from that, as well as the Flaming Fist Officer that benefits whenever a creature dies, which sacrificing does well for. Alright, so I think that we just do the good old thing and we attack in with everything here. We can save the Ghoul, or we can trade the Ghast with their Barbarians, so... let's go ahead and do this. And what are they going to play? I mean, it's 4 red mana, so it can't be you hear something on watch. It has to be something that they can flash in, maybe? I guess not. They just sacrificed it for nothing, I guess, so... They made a very grave error there, because they should have played out something or used a removal spell, like a Fireball maybe. Fireball is 5 mana that they could have played and done something with. Guaranteed to kill the Ghoul if they wanted to. But I guess not. So... yeah, so that's only an enter the battlefield effect, so that wouldn't get us the free land if we took control of it, so I think that we just offer to trade off the Ghast. So we offer to trade the Ghast for their Pilgrim's Eye. I'm okay with it. We get the treasure, but then we can play the Myconid and get an extra... get some extra creatures on the board, so I'm okay with that if they want to do that. Now they have one less chump blocker to deal with, or one less chump blocker for us to deal with. Now we have more sack fodder. We have another way to pump the Ghoul with the 1/1 token that we have. We have a way to ramp into the Copper Dragon next turn if we draw it. We'll do this so that way they don't gain the treasure token from this. So yeah, they get rid of the Myconid, but they do not get the treasure token, which is probably what they were hoping for. And they kind of forgot that I can sack at instant speed and prevent them from getting the treasure off of that. We have no targets for the provocations, so we're just going to get in here. We're going to go ahead and leave the 1/1 tokens here in case they have like a Dragon's Fire to try and kill the Ghoul, then we can sack in response to save it. Plus it's, you know, we're dealing 4 damage here, so making this a 4/4 for 1 turn probably isn't going to pay off. Alright, so they didn't have anything to deal with what we had, and I don't know if they were flooding out or if they were mana screwed and they couldn't play their high curved creatures. Maybe sacrificing the Reckless Barbarian was a fatal mistake for them and not being able to play out something bigger that they wanted to play. They had to have had enough land in there to play something, but maybe they thought that with what we had, they just weren't going to be able to stop the onslaught. So, alright, let's move on to game number 6. Alright, here we are for match number 6. Going for lucky win number 4, or the Fab 4, whatever you want to call it, which would be enough to go and get us enough gems to get enough gems for the 1500 to do another draft. So this is not a capable hand. We don't have any black mana, no Pilgrim's Eye, nothing. So gonna have to go and mulligan this. It's too dangerous, even with the Rabble Rouser turn 2. This is also a dangerous hand to keep. We are on the draw. Grim Bounty can draw a treasure token, or give us a treasure token, I mean, if we draw some lands. I mean, if we have to risk it some hand, I guess this is a risk worth taking for this one at least, and then we go ahead and drop the... Maybe the Myconid is what we need to drop here. Yeah, I guess the Myconid, we're going to have to drop that one and use the tokens to play our red spells, or treasures to play red spells here. We have 3 draw steps to either get to 4 mana for a Grim Bounty, or to grab a red mana of some kind. Right, well, it's not a horrible draw, but we want ideally some red mana here at some point, so... Okay, so we at least have Grim Bounty. Wish the curve could be a bit better here by playing a Warcaller or Shambling Ghast out here first, but you deal with the hand that you're dealt. Okay, so Grim Bounty can't deal with that. Deadly Disputes, on the other hand, is okay. We don't exactly want to sacrifice the ghoul right now. We probably want to do it in response to some kind of removal, so... Of course, the problem with Deadly Dispute is that it holds like priority here, so... Let's prevent them from getting their own treasure token here and do this. Now we can at least play the Rabble Rouser or do improvised weaponry on their creature, so... And we draw the red mana that we needed, which is excellent. And we draw another ghoul, also excellent. Vampire Spawn would be good to go ahead and block their 3/2 token, and they used a lot of life already, so they're on a clock. They are definitely on a clock right now. If we do improvised weaponry now, then we get rid of their token, and then we get a treasure. We can play out the Vampire Spawn after that to drain them some more. I'm actually okay with that. They could have a Deadly Dispute of their own, but we still have mana to play something here. Okay, so they could have played Deadly Dispute there to sacrifice it. They didn't have one, I guess, or they would have played it. And then we can Vampire Spawn and then just have them slowly drain out here, I think is maybe the plan. But I could play that out next turn. Maybe we just go ahead and play out the Rabble Rouser and see if we can activate Double Team here this coming next turn. So get it out while we can. And the next turn we can do Ghoul and Spawn without using the treasure. Yeah, so holding Vampire Spawn in our hand could also be good, because then they don't know that they have so little life left. Maybe they'll go for broke and drain a lot of their life to try and win the match sooner. And then we finish them off with Vampire Spawn when they're at 2 life. So that could also be a plan here, just hold it up. Alright, so we can Grim Bounty the Meteor Golem. We don't get the double team value, but we're still okay-ish, I think. So let's go ahead and Grim Bounty their Meteor Golem here. And then play out the Sepulchre Ghoul if they want to use removal on that. I guess it's okay. They're just going to keep draining themselves out here with their black market connections, minimum of losing 1 life a turn, so they're getting ever closer to vampire spawn being very dangerous for them, so I'm actually okay with that if they want to use their mana on that. I am, however, not very happy about the flood that we have going on here, so they could play a haste creature, but I'm probably not going to block with a vampire spawn if they have a haste creature. So I think we just go ahead and pass here. If they have a Demogorgon's Clutches, I do get punished though for not playing out the vampire spawn, because then they can have me discard both of my cards. You know what, maybe I just do this now, just to make sure I have it on the field and I don't lose the effect from discard effects. It's unlikely that anyone will prioritize Demogorgon's Clutches, but it is possible. So they can do the Rabble Rouser, maybe. Yep. Figured that it would be the Rabble Rouser so they can try and win before they drain themselves out of life. Basically, I just have to hold on here for a couple more turns, and we have the match won. They have lots of mana to pump the Rabble Rouser, which is dangerous, but hopefully I can draw some chump blockers here instead of flooding out like I've been doing. I think they just go for the massive pump here on the Rabble Rouser to pump in damage. Thankfully it's only 1 Rabble Rouser on the field right now, but if I draw a land again, then I might be in trouble here. I just have to hold on for a couple more turns and we'll be able to win. That makes things kind of interesting. Enthusiasm is kind of okay. Not great here. It does get rid of a Rabble Rouser though, which I guess is okay. I mean, we have to go ahead and kill a Rabble Rouser now to slow them down, so let's go ahead and do this. It doesn't do as well for the pumping creature effect, but we don't really need to pump a creature that much. We just have to slow down their damage dealing here. Hope that we can last. We gotta draw something here. A Red Dragon would kill them. Ancient Copper Dragon would slow them to a crawl as well. We have a number of creatures we could draw. Even a removal spell would be decent here. Alright, Copper Dragon. Excellent. So let's go ahead and play this out, and then if they don't have an answer for it, we basically win. So we can either kill them. See, Dragon's Fire doesn't kill it. Mephit's Enthusiasm doesn't kill it either. They would basically need like a Grim Bounty. Sewer Plague probably doesn't do it either because it can still block with the Copper Dragon, so Eyes of the Beholder does get there though, but it uses lots of mana. So they're not going to kill me this turn, so how can I kill them? Red Dragon can kill them. Oh, gosh. You're killing me, game. You're killing me. What's up with the flood? Do I have to play 16 lands with all of my high curved decks or something like that with the big fat creatures I gotta play out? My gosh. Why? Oh, good game, I guess. You know, it is what it is. Like, come on, game. I just needed to draw something there. They had what they needed. I admit, yeah, they had what they needed, but we weren't drawing anything there down the stretch, so trying to hold on for dear life, and we couldn't do it, so. Alright, well, we had a decent deck there, but I think that maybe playing 17 lands was maybe the killer for us there. We just didn't have enough gas there to be doing what we wanted to do. So it is what it is. We still get the gems that we need, I guess, to get 1500. I was hoping that I misremembered. I think I remembered that I needed to get to 4 wins, I guess. I wasn't paying attention to my gem count close enough, but I was expecting that deck to do better, though, than 3-3. I mean, it's still solid, but it's not really exciting. So let's do some pack one, pick ones here after our red-black deck kind of did only average. So Mirror of Life tapping is a pretty bad rare. It's meant to be with the sort of blue-white blink deck and into the battlefield effects and different things like that, where leaving a battlefield for a creature can pump it up like the Flaming Fist Officer pump effect, but it's just a really bad rare, and it also can benefit your opponent too in some matchups, so you don't really want to play this ever with any deck. I've seen some other people or one other person draft it if draft on Arena, and it basically ended up doing pretty terribly for them in the blue-white blink deck of some kind, so definitely wouldn't ever want to pick that ever. Owlbear Shepherd is great, and green can generally be open. You can get some big fat creatures out as well to get the 8 power or greater effect, so good card advantage in green, good blocker in the early game too against the aggro decks. Servok the Usurper, another great card. I played with it once, and it's again, it's an excellent card, and it's also a card that we played against during this draft. So, as you saw, it can do a very good pumping effect, and if you do the green specialize and give something trample, it gets very, very strong. Plus X and trample can finish off the game. Minimalist Containment, kind of like solid removal. You can deal with anything with that. And then Deadly Dispute was great in the deck that we just played. Servok is the best card here, so I would take that first pick, and since it can specialize, it keeps us pretty open to many sorts of archetypes and color combinations. Then maybe I can wheel the Summon Undead for the green-black mill plan, or maybe just putting creatures in the graveyard for the pump effect, so I would take Servok there, but it'd be hard to go wrong with the Owlbear Shepherd too if you wanted to play green. And here, well, the choice is pretty easy. Minsk and Boo is probably the most busted card in this set. And I think it's one of the only Planeswalkers that is in the set. There are some other Planeswalkers in the set. I think we even played against one of them in this, or I think I played against maybe another one, maybe in like a constructed standard play or whatever, but Minsk and Boo is the strongest card in my opinion in the entire set, and in constructed and alchemy sets or in alchemy decks, it would probably just be a just all around great card advantage. Green red, it's only 2 colors, and it's not like 3 color like the Minsk card was in the Adventures in the Forgotten Realms set, which was like 3 color red, white, green, I think. And Skanos is also a very good card, can go well in the Dragon deck, good specialized card, another pumping type effect similar to the Servok. And then you have Undersimplify for the counterspell, Band Together is good removal, Flaming Fist Officer can be pretty decent in the Flicker, Blinking type deck, or any black-white sacrifice deck. But definitely Minsk and Boo without a doubt, and I also love Minsk and Boo, it's a very fun card. And even though it is busted, it's still a fun card, and Minsk is probably the most popular character from the Baldur's Gate video game that spawned this set, so Minsk is the very beloved character along with his companion Boo, the miniature giant space hamster. So we have here another Servok would be good. Blood Money was the sweeper effect that I mentioned earlier in this video. It's a very strong sweeper effect, but it is 7 mana, which means that you either need to ramp into it with like a red-black treasure token generation deck, or you just need the ways to ramp into it, like say an Undercell or Myconid, which you don't mind losing to a Blood Money and creatures like that. So green-black or red-black could potentially play this out sooner if you're up against like an aggro deck that's going to beat you down. Sea Tower Imprisonment is a very good removal spell, enchantment removal, which is common in white. And then Soldiers of the Watch is just a decent card to get out of that with a 2-for-1 effect. Maybe even 3-for-1 if you get the double team value on that. Then Servok, as I mentioned, good card. Kobold Warcaller is great, especially in the same deck with Devoted Paladin if you're playing red-white. So I would take Servok here first pick because it's a good build around and it's a great card on its own. Then I can hope to wheel either the Kobold Warcaller for red-black aggro. Maybe I can wheel the Devoted Paladin and play black-white with just strong cards and getting pump effects in there for finishing off the opponents. Blood Money probably wouldn't wheel. It could because it's expensive removal, but sweeper effects are usually desired in some way. Yeah, I guess Blood Money would probably be good for a dragon deck that wants to buy time, and then you buy enough time, you do a sweeper effect, and then you play out like a big dragon or two after that. Okay, so Viconia is an excellent specialized card here with the specialized mechanic. Maybe one of the best 2-drops that I've ever seen. I mean, there is some madness in constructed decks and historic that can do lots of stuff, but Viconia in the limited format and the draft format is maybe one of the best 2-drops ever that I've seen that isn't like a rare, because you can exile cards from an opponent's graveyard, which in some matchups by itself is great. You prevent them from getting cards back from the graveyard, and then you can play out some of their lower mana creatures with the specialized effects, and all around a 2-3 blocker on turn 2 can really slow down the aggro decks, and it can possibly, force them to trade. And it's all around great, and black is a pretty good archetype, and then specialized is just a great mechanic. Signature spells, more of a constructed deck card for like red, blue, and that kind of thing, so wouldn't be something I'd want to take in the draft format, but for constructed is certainly interesting. Druid of the Emerald Grove is great. It can be good for ramp, and then you can just get extra lands and stuff like that. So all in all, it's a pretty good card, especially if you're in a dragon deck that you want to ramp into something big, maybe. So, and getting a creature out of it is also good. So, Grim Bounty is good removal. Eyes of the Beholder is a bit better, maybe than some people give it credit for, because it can deal with basically anything, even indestructible. But I would go with Viconia here pretty easily. It's a very strong card, one of the strongest specialized cards in the set. So I thank everyone for watching. Sorry that the results of this deck couldn't have been better, even though I thought it was a very good deck and a fun deck. And my stomach is rumbling because I think maybe I just need a food or a snack or something like that, or maybe I just need a good drink of water or some milk or something. I don't know. But I thank everyone for watching. I hope you all had fun, even though the deck kind of underperformed by its standards, I would bet. But it was still fun, and we still had some fun games, close games too, so that's usually the fun thing about it. Hope everyone has a very good time wherever you're at. Hope everyone has a very wonderful weekend coming up, and as always, take care.